from where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-karat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Well, I would like to do a review of this game for everybody, but my game keeps crashing. Don't want me to review it. No, it's at least on my version it is. I got this on PS3, and Nick, you got it on PS3.
Yeah, man, I can't even finish this game. Yeah, I hate it so much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I would love to be able to get a little further in this game and tell people about it, but I didn't have as many crashes as Nick has. I mean, okay, so for this game, there is a controversy going on about it where a lot of people are experiencing bugs that cause the game to slow down at some point and then crash. And so the publisher, Bethesda, is saying, all right, well, you know what? It's okay, people. It's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll release a patch for it. And I'm like, a patch? I'm like, well, I'm not trying to quit smoking. I'm trying to play a fucking game here, okay? I just, what's the problem with just releasing a game that works? And the game itself, okay, so I got Jason here, I got Nick, and then I got Kevin. And Kevin and I and Nick have played the game. Kevin, however, he's playing it on a PC. So, that's Kevin, right. I don't think that you're having as many problems as we are.
No problems whatsoever.
Oh, ain't you special?
That's awesome that people still play games on the PC. That's really cute.
And it's cheap. It's cheaper than the than the console version. So
and it works.
Right? Because usually, in my experience, the PC's way buggier than the console.
I know.
Which is why I walked away from PC gaming, because it was such a pain in the ass.
It's on Steam, and so maybe after I installed it, it quickly put in some patches, before I saw it or something, because I've had absolutely no problems with the game. I'm not saying that I have heard that there were problems in the beginning, because Steam saves your save games on their system, and some people were losing their quick saves, but I have not had any problems whatsoever.
So even you had to go in and put some patches on this game before.
Well, I may have installed them. It does it automatically.
Okay.
I didn't do. I have no idea if it did or not.
Well, I like the Fallout series. Now I've only played Fallout 3 in this game. Well, about as much as this game will allow me to play it, but these games are cool. They're post-apocalyptic games. They occur years after nuclear war. Now in the previous games, people lived in vaults, and they finally start coming out from the vault and exploring the wasteland. And people tell me if I'm wrong about this, because I'm not really that experienced with the whole Fallout background, or I haven't played a whole lot of these games. But so in these previous games, when you come out of the vault and explore the wasteland, you run into the usual bandits and mutants and mutated creatures that have grown to be big, like you got giant ants and bugs and all that kind of stuff, and lizards. But what was cool about it is that it's a role-playing game. So you get to explore this world, and you get to do all these side missions, and you can kind of make the game as long or as short as you want to, or as long as it will allow you to make it. And it's very cool being able to go through and just having the freedom to do these things, be as good or evil as you want, and also having to watch what you eat, because you could get too much radiation if you eat the wrong thing. They've put a lot into the world. So when people heard that they were sort of taking a different take with Fallout New Vegas, people were excited, because in this one, you're not coming from a vault. You're somebody who already is immersed in this world. You're a courier, and you're about to deliver a package. And for this particular package, you get ambushed by some bandits, and the beginning of the game starts out with you being shot in the head, and you're saved because apparently these people are lousy shots, because just some robot picks you up. And I mean, really, they shoot you point blank in the head, and you can't kill somebody from that. I don't know. Maybe you got mutated skulls from being in the desert too long from radiation.
Maybe
whatever.
it was an amnesia bullet,
Like in Wolverine. Well, I wish it was. Maybe I could forget this game was so fucked up with bugs. But you get rescued by this doctor who, after you're brought in by this robot, and so the game asks you to go out and explore the world, do all these side missions, while also trying to figure out what the mystery is behind these people who shot you and the reason why they shot you. And that was cool. It's a mystery set within a post-apocalyptic world that's also a role-playing game. And I was eager to explore this game, but early on, now a lot of people were talking about, oh, my game's buggy, my game stopped, I can't play anymore, I lost a save game after putting hours of gameplay into it. And I'm laughing at everybody thinking like, well, I'm just strolling along on this game and I haven't experienced anything. And right after I said that, the game started slowing down. I had these spots where it would just stop for, it was like a hiccup. It would freeze for about a second. And then the freezes would get longer. And finally it got to a point where, and it's only happened to me once, where the game froze and that was it. I couldn't play anymore. Now, I'm going to be fair here in saying that every game that I've played on my PS3, every game has had at least one crash, whether it be on the loading screen or whether it stopped somewhere in the middle of gameplay. So I don't know if that crash right there was an isolated incident, or for me, or if that was something that was going to continue. I had to move on to something else right after that. But if that's the case, and it's true that everybody's been having problems with this game, I think that is a really bad business practice. I think that is something that is very unfair to the consumer, and we're right now at this level of where in video games we're starting to see this kind of business practice early enough to where we can discuss it. Is there something that people can do about it? Is it something that will continue and will be we'll just be at the mercy of the developer when they release that game because there's such a demand for it? I mean, what can you do about it? We'll talk about that. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and talk about the game itself, which, hey, look, for all that said about the crashing and everything, I've had a fun time with the game. The only thing I think about it is that if you've played Fallout 3, this is just going to seem like an extension of that. I don't think there's, besides just the way the game starts out and some of the settings in there, there's not a whole lot.
Like an expansion pack.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot elaborated on the game itself. Here it's cool because New Vegas, and you hear them refer to it, I think in the last game too, maybe. It's a place that apparently bombs dropped everywhere, but on this spot, everybody loves Las Vegas, including like nuclear bombs, because nothing's happened to it. It's still kind of intact. The strip is still there. People still gamble. Soldiers go there to have fun. There's a dam nearby that still provides clean water. So your job in the game
that's called Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam.
Yeah. Damn it, Corey. Even I know that. I'm bloody English.
Just because I didn't say Hoover Dam doesn't mean I didn't know what it was. You made it sound like I called it wrong. And nearby there's Abraham Lincoln Dam. So if your job is to go to that strip, and that's where the heart of the mystery is. But along the way, as with any kind of Fallout game, there's so much stuff that you can do on the side that it could probably take a while before you get there. You can make it as long or as short as you want to before you get there. I had a lot of fun going around. I mean, Fallout is one of those games where it's really praised by a lot of people, but I probably have more problems with it than the average person, and a lot of it doesn't even have to do with the gameplay. So I'm probably not the biggest fan of the series, and a lot of people are probably going to hate what I have to say about it. But what did you guys think about the game?
Well,
let me just. Sorry, Jason.
Well, I was just going to say that I haven't. I played all the way through Fallout 3 and found it pretty much without any problems. I didn't really find a lot of bugs or anything like that. I have not played New Vegas, but I've read a lot about it because it sounds right up my alley. But I did play Fallout 1 and 2 on the PC. And just to touch on your conversation about bugs and so forth, Fallout 1 is pretty much unplayable. Fallout 2 is basically a fixed version of Fallout 1. So this Bethesda, it wasn't Bethesda back in the day. I'm sorry, Bethesda bought the rights to Fallout for Fallout 3. It was Interplay or something else. Kevin could probably elaborate on that, but yeah, the Fallout games have a history of being buggy, and they're great. There's a lot of really, really innovative content there. Nuclear war as if it took place in 1955 or whatever. But along with that comes the history of bugs and glitches and game crashing failures.
Yeah, yeah. So they have a history of doing this, huh? Well,
Yeah.
Jesus, man. So they just figure like people buy this game no matter what. They've been doing it for years. So hey, what's new? Why are people complaining now? You've been buying the game.
Korey, I'm just going back to the storyline. You liked the storyline for this game, like how it started off and where it was going.
Yeah, I did. I thought that, but I like that. I like in games where you have to backtrack and figure out what the mystery is and find clues. I mean, you didn't like that?
No, you see, I absolutely adore Fallout 3. I thought it was epic. I loved every moment I was playing it, and I couldn't wait for the expansion pack to come out.
He just liked seeing America destroyed. That's what it was.
No. Like, I'm about to go back on myself here. I don't like the story at all for this game because it starts off with your character being shot, but unlike Fallout 3 where you start off as a baby and you meet your father and your friends, your high school girlfriend, whatever. Like you're really attached to these characters. So when your father went off on his happy trails, whatever, you had to go look for him. I was like, okay, I really, really want to find him because I was attached to the story. Here, where some dickhead shoots you with a gun and you're like, okay, now I'm going to go after him. It's like, in a world where there's giant ants running around and mutants and, people shooting each other, I would really, couldn't care less about, some dickhead who shot.
Well,
I mean, like...
What do you want every Fallout game to start out with you being born?
No, I mean, like, just like
do you want to play Mario and you want to see the birth of Mario before you actually play the game? I mean,
no, because
here's Mario going to plumber.
Oh Christ!
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Red Dead Redemption starts off with you looking for your family, yeah, but you're already starting to meet these characters and getting to know them pretty well. Like with Bonnie, you become friends with her and you spend time with her. So I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued by the story's plot here. Like, you just start off with some old geezer who's like, you got shot and I'm going to take care of you for no reason at all, okay? And he just sends you on your way. And
he's a nice guy.
Man,
he didn't want to see you. He didn't want to see you die out in the desert. I mean, that's human kindness isn't good enough for you.
It's the apocalypse, man. Like
probably want to touch you before. He probably want to touch you while you had your clothes off and was unconscious. I mean, who knows what this guy's reasons were? But he was cool.
I can't say it's what I'd have picked for you, but if that's your name, that's your name. I'm Doc Mitchell. Welcome to Goodsprings. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I had to go rooting around there in your noggin to pull all the bits of lead out. I take pride in my needlework, but you'd better tell me if I left anything out of place.
Yeah, Fallout 3, right? When you first enter when you enter the first town, the sheriff greets you, but he's suspicious of you, and he warns you not to mess around. Otherwise, he's going to gun you down. There was the suspicion that everyone had towards each other here, just like, hey, how you doing, man? This is, welcome to this place. You can help me, I'll give you a job and everything. It's like, oh, that's really kind of you.
Well, Nick, the counter argument to what you're saying is, and I'm not trying to be contradictory here, but when I played Fallout 3, my life went by in 10 minutes. I was born, I went to high school, and then I was leaving the vault in 10 minutes. I didn't really become that attached to these people because I didn't get to know them that well.
It was enough though that you knew kind of generally what was going on. Like here, it's just like, oh, you were a courier and you just got shot in the head and you got some amnesia.
I don't know what the difference is. I knew my father in Fallout 3 about as well as I knew this asshole who picked me out the desert and took the bullet out of my head. And you know what? I like that guy who took the bullet out of my head better than my father because he fucking left. I didn't know who he was.
There's something fishy about this wanker, okay?
On a very special, different stroke.
I don't know. This is I don't know. This is a stick in my look. Obviously, there's just going to be two different things here about the emotional attachment to these characters because let me tell you something. One of the things I don't like about this game is I don't like the dialogue in these games. It's weird, and the people they're freakish to me. The people first of all, you get to make your character, and I think that's cool because I always talk about in these games how I wish that there were a few more people that looked like me, or were women, or were darker skin, or were just a different shade, or they were blue or something. I don't know. I like to see more variation than the average white male in the video game. And this game, you get to make a character that you feel like you identify with. Now, the problem with that is that no matter what you try to do to make that character look like you, they always coming out looking like one of your parents had sex with an Asian. I mean, there's nothing you can change about that.
Yeah, well, I hear that in a patch they're going to add it to where you walk into town, they're like, oh, I see your mama doesn't have sex with a Negro. Get out of New Vegas, you freak.
You know, for some people, that probably is a bug. Where you going to fix it to where you can't be black? That's been the biggest problem.
Knowing all the racist 14-year-old mutants on Xbox Live, yeah, that's probably true.
You never fixed that part of the game. But no, and so they only have, like, you can tell because they want you to be able to adjust that model to look like you. They've used that same sort of or variation of that model for all the other characters in the game. And so every person you run into you look like, I don't know, this person looks like my cousin or my brother, because we all look like we had like an Asian mom or a dad. And so these, I don't like the way these characters look. These characters have never got any kind of emotion out of me because they just kind of stare. I mean, they don't. They got dead Kermit the Frog eyes. They just stare off into space. And when you talk to them, they just stand there. You can run into them. They're like, hey there, stranger. And you just keep walking into them. And sometimes they talk to you, and they just stand there and just walk into a wall or something. I like how you can walk into people's homes, and they don't have any reaction. They just stare off into a wall and just walk around you, and they're like, then they'll ever say, hey, what are you doing here? Or get the fuck out of here. This is kind of like, hi. Like, I walked into one guy's house while he was asleep. You know, I would like to see just something in there where a guy will come and be like, hey, who the fuck is that? Oh, it's you. Okay, I'm sorry. But you know, the guy immediately rises up out of bed, and he's asleep, and he hears you walk in, and he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, well, if you look over in the kitchen, you can get some scraps to eat before you go out. And it's like, he don't even know who I am. And so the game has never really brought any kind of real emotion out of me. And that's always been a problem with me. But that's those are the two biggest things that I could find to complain about a game like this, as far as, a Fallout game. Other than that, going around the world and exploring it, I really do like it. I don't think it's the best graphic imagery that I've seen in a game. In a game like this, I mean, I've seen games where it's a lot better, the presentation. I mean, the environments look great, but you always run across creatures, or you run across human beings that are very stiff. But I do like the world itself, and I do like how expansive it is and how you can just keep it going and going. I like that you just walk into certain parts of the desert, and all of a sudden you get ambushed. I know I walked into a part of the desert where like zombies and cut off shorts attacked me, and there was nothing I could do. Just realize, don't go back to that area until I'm strong enough. Right. And yeah, so there's a lot to explore, and that's the biggest thing about these Fallout games, is that they just give you a lot of time to go and really put yourself in this world, and it's a lot of fun in that aspect.
Yeah, I really liked, and everything that I've read about the game. I mean, it's got this great retro soundtrack with all Rat Pack and stuff like that, and it's got this vibe that the original Fallout games really captured. That was, what if society had ceased its progression back in the 50s, and you've got all this retro music, and there are these old cars that were wrecked, but they were still definitely retro, whereas Fallout 3 really just kind of felt like a Mad Max game. It didn't have that vibe. Well, this kind of gets back to that, but what really almost negates all of that is that, like you said earlier, it feels like DLC. Yeah. I mean, it feels like that they haven't made any significant leaps from the other one, And so it's like, if it's not really going to be that much better, then just make it downloadable content instead of selling it as a new package.
Right.
I can't get around that. I was really excited about it until I found out it was going to be full price, and then I kind of thought, oh, I don't know if that's worth it.
Well, that's the deal with the game, man. It feels like they took the game. It's okay. It's like they took Mad Max or the Road Warrior and added like a Las Vegas Rat Pack soundtrack to it, and put people in, like nice colorful suits and, gave them like a tiki theme in some parts and whatnot. I mean, in some parts of the game, not all of it, because you do go through that world before you get to Las Vegas, where it is typical Fallout. You go so far. Okay, I will say this. I'm probably being a little hard on the game because it really doesn't. That whole Vegas feel doesn't apply to the whole game. The game feels like a Western for the most part.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's the coolest part of the game. That's what I was really enjoying. That you go through and you're having to go to these like there's one part where there's an army base set up with a barracks there, and it feels like an old fort in the West. You meet people like in saloons in
Right.
small towns, and that's fun. I like that. I like that aspect of the game, and that also kind of made it different from Fallout in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it basically has a bunch of different factions. There's the New California Republic that is sort of in control of the area that you're in, and they're moving into various towns and sort of offering them protection against something called like the Legion or something. I forget.
Led by a guy named, what's his name? His name is Caesar, but he calls himself Kaiser.
Kaiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they dress up like Romans, and they're slowly encroaching into the NCR's territory. And then at the same time, there's a prison that has been overrun by the prisoners, and they're called powder gangers, and they're spilling out into the desert as well. So you're basically fighting them or allying with them in any one of these groups that are going on. Meanwhile, you're trying to find out basically who's responsible for shooting you in the head, and that all leads back to New Vegas. But it's quite a journey from when you wake up, to get there. I mean, if you actually get there too soon, you need a lot of money to actually get into New Vegas, and so it helps to do a lot of the side quests, which that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing too. I've been having to do side quests for side quests. So it's like it's gonna be a long time before I get into Vegas. Well, it's gonna be a long time anyway because the game ain't letting me get there itself. But the game is like, you ain't fucking going nowhere. But yeah, they keep you busy. I mean, you think you're gonna get through the game. It's like if you want to play a short game, they're just not making it that easy for you. I mean, and that's a good thing because I think you need to really, if this game is gonna seem like it's just an add-on addition to Fallout 3, then you need to be given a lot to do to really feel like you got your money's worth, because this game is like near $70, and so like they tell you to go to this town, and when you go to that town is like, well, hey, before you leave, we need a new sheriff because the old sheriff died. And then when you go to get that sheriff, they're like, well, we got this sheriff in jail. If you want to get him a pardon, you can, but you got to find me $200 before I can do that. And this is like, shit, man, I'm not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems I've been having with the game is, you can do up all your stats just like you could in Fallout 3, and they have all these things, the lock picking, the bartering, the medical, how well you use different weapons. But it seems like as the game's progressed, it's really sort of requiring me to have really high scores in speech and lock picking, which is like, if you don't have that stuff.
Pretty much describes your dating life, right?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's like I'm not even sure how you're supposed to progress, because usually you would have some other avenue to approach it by, but it's almost like you don't. Like there's just these speech trees that come up, and they're like, you could either try to use one of those effects, but if it's too low, well, I guess you go level up until you can raise your speech high enough to to pass this, to get in. And so I've kind of been a little bit disappointed by that.
Yeah.
And this is the very start of the game. Like your first mission is like, oh, you can't do that because you don't have enough points. I'm like, man, I just started, just give me some time, So if it was,
Right.
if that was later on, then I'd be like, okay, but